The first time I can remember really thinking inquisitively about mosses was in early 2019. It was February or maybe March, still a couple months out from snowmelt, and exhausted with my university classes, I decided to take the afternoon off and go for a little hike. Now, given when it was in the year, there really wasn't much in the way of macroflora except maybe the conifers, but eager to find something, anything plant-related, I nevertheless kept my eyes trained toward the ground. And it did take me a little while, but before long, I stumbled across something I'd never seen before. This is Centrichia canonervis, a species of moss adapted to xeric environments, like the rocky outcroppings of a mountainside, where access to water is unreliable at best. For this reason, it thrives most at the seasonal margins, coming to life when the snow melts and during rain events, and otherwise suspending itself in a metabolic standstill, patiently waiting out for whenever the water returns. When we think about mosses, and let's be honest, we don't, we tend to clump them together as a kind of uniform entity. To the vast majority of people, moss is just the greenish crust on the soil surface, indistinct and undifferentiated to the naked eye. I mean, I could tell you that this is probably Bryum argentium, but does that matter to you? Even botany classes, when they cover bryophytes, tend only to discuss their reproductive strategies and overall context in plant evolution. And while that is important, I don't think it really engenders much curiosity about the group, nor does it give you much reason to care about them. And if you're used to viewing mosses through such a limited lens, encounters with actual moss diversity can end up really surprising you. Maybe a month or two after stumbling across Centrichia canonervis, and thoroughly emboldened by the experience of identifying exactly one moss, I went actively looking for them at a nearby trail. The vernal thaw, now in full swing, made for ideal moss hunting conditions, both uncovering and hydrating available moss colonies. If ever there was a time to look for mosses, now was that time. And this time, immediately, I found a species that really intrigued me, growing in little bristly clumps at the edge of a creek. Now, still being very much a novice, I initially confused this for a species of sphagnum, the moss perhaps best known for its keystone role in bog environments. But when I went to collect a little bit of it, I pulled up something, once again, that I wasn't exactly expecting. It was a stem. Now, for the uninitiated, mosses shouldn't have stems. Stems, branches, and roots all imply a more advanced vasculature than bryophytes are evolutionarily equipped to have. This rule has notable exceptions, however, and one such exception is Climaceum dendroides, the tree moss. As it happens, dendroid mosses aren't unheard of, and their continued presence implies a deeper truth that biological conventions are very rarely ever set in stone. You'll often see mosses characterized by this same absence of vascular tissue, and yeah, what they've got doesn't get them too far off the ground, but it would be a lie to say that they don't have their rudimentary equivalents to higher plant structures. What mosses like Centrichia canonervis and Climaceum dendroides also demonstrate to us is that mosses themselves aren't as esoteric as we might believe, with some of them even identifiable to the naked eye. Sure, microscopes and hand lenses are pretty essential if you want to get serious about it. On an unrelated note, the link to my Patreon is down below. But if you're a beginner and you don't really want to spend that kind of money, sometimes it can be just as edifying to go outside and look at a mossy log and see what strikes you. The final story I have for you today is about Centrichia ruralis. S. ruralis is a close cousin of Centrichia canonervis, same genus, different species, and tends to occupy the same general locales as its relative, though with mosses microclimate often makes a world of difference. Now, I've seen S. ruralis in a lot of places, but the first place I ever remember seeing it was in this area of shady undergrowth at a local trail, the same trail, funnily enough, where I first encountered Climaceum dendroides. It grows on what either looks like a rocky outcropping or a decorticated tree stump, And for most of the year, like its cousin, it's curled up in a state of anhydrobiosis, dry and husky, unassuming, patiently waiting, as the organism has likely done for millions of years now, for whenever the water returns. And for the past however many years, I've come by at around the end of March and the beginning of April to pay it a visit, because when the snow melts, the moss's phyllids, evolved over millennia for maximum water intake, trap as much of the relinquished moisture as their little bodies can contain, and this otherwise drab patch of earth takes on a hue of green so verdant that I kind of wonder if it's even properly communicated through video. And what I love most about this spot is that it's just one rock, on a mountain made entirely of rocks, almost exactly like it. And those areas have their own respective dwellers, be they Centrichia canonervis, Climacerium dendroides, Centrichia ruralis, or something entirely new and heretofore unseen, because the natural world is amazing, and it is always obliged to show you something spectacular. All you have to do is take a moment to look.